find areas in which your company will benefit the most from automation. So during this webinar, you will find out how easy it is to get started with RPA and AI, and you can take a peek into the kitchen of automation anywhere with our senior sales engineer, Matthew Falconer. So if you want to ask any questions during or after the webinar, please feel free to put in the question and feedback box on the right side of your screen. But let's get started. Michael, over to you.
Thank you. Hello. Everyone, Mike from Mæglerkonsulenterne. Today we're going to briefly talk about how easy it is to get started with RPA and artificial intelligence. First, we will look into how to involve the organization and why it's relevant to focus on the values gained by RPA and artificial intelligence. That's the area of proof of concept versus pilot, and then the different stages in the implementation model, and then talking a bit about offshoring before Matthew from Automation. will provide a sneak peek of the newest version. To begin with, I'd like to tell you a short story about a guy who faced an interesting challenge. He is a 33-year-old lawyer living in Mumbai, and he started up cleaning the beach, and today it's still known as the biggest cleanup of beaches in history. They cleaned up more than 53 million tons of garbage, and it started with one guy and slowly evolved, and getting the rest of the community actually to join this effort. The reason that I show this is simply the fact that when you get the organization to join in on something, you can get completely different results. And this also is the case when you start a journey like RPA. Basically, it's about removing the fears from your employees. It could be in terms of in some organization, you have the challenge that some employees might fear that if they big parts of the job ends up being automated, what part and what role they fit within the organization. But if you handle that fear from the beginning, and you instead get them to be involved and actually suggest which process to automate, you find yourself in a solution, in a scenario where you have tons of processes that you can automate. In this case, it's completely different. And you end up in a scenario where your employees looks at all the positive sides on automation in general. And usually the case is that they end up having removed parts of their task that they basically are less fond of, which provides lots of positive things like employee morale and things like that. So it's a matter of getting to the state where it's okay to actually show what effort you make. On some task to become automated, and choosing that path instead of having a top-down approach where you pinpoint things from the top. It's two completely different ways. Some organizations, obviously, they're smaller, then the top-down approach can also work very well. But our experience is for sure that if you can get your organization to join this journey, you're much better off. Different ways in the way we help our clients doing this. Often we have events, either half-day events or full-day events with relevant departments or subsidiaries within the company, where we kickstart this process. And when we do this, it's quickly shown that there are, when you have this approach, you can find much more processes to automate than by any other method. So the value you get is a lot higher. When we do automations in general, you could say it doesn't really matter if it's RPA or something else. In our company, we only focus on RPA and artificial intelligence and coaching-related tasks within this area. It's important that you focus on not just the hardcore value that you might generate in terms of man hours, which is removed, but it's also the other areas like error reduction, mission critical, employee morale, customer satisfaction, and different compliance within the company. Simply to get an overall view of what is the value that you're actually going to get on all the different parameters. We often illustrate this in charts and different ways. A good example is shown here, where you can see that some of the processes that we describe with client has certain values on the hard values, which is shown in the bars. And then the yellow line shows the other parameters. Where are you on this? And it's a matter of aligning those and being aware of this for each process you decide to automate. And by having this approach, you always able to select what is best for the company, and in terms of when you decide to automate a specific process. It's fairly straightforward, but it's an important exercise that you need to take care of. If you talking about how you are going to execute a start, what we often talk to our clients about is doing a proof of concept, a POC, or pilot. Basically, it's not a matter of figuring out what you want to do in the next step. The proof of concept is a small exercise you do, but usually it's to prove a technology. And you can say in this case, the technology has been around for many years, much more than a decade. It's a well-proven technology. So our experience is that, of course, you can do that if it makes sense for the organization, and then if that is the right approach, then that's the way you go. But if you want to make sure that you are that it's a journey, you begin the journey, you don't lose momentum, it's very worthwhile looking into pilot, and that's where we see most of our clients go. We made a short bullet points in terms of showing the pros and cons and different approaches. If you take a POC, it's easy to decide, it's easy to find the processes, regardless if it's a top-down approach. It's always most of the time the case. It's quick to execute, usually it's a number of days that you execute a POC. And obviously, for those reasons, it's also very cheap to execute. To say that when you work with automation anywhere, it's usually also the case in pilots. Depending on the scenario, it's quite often something we can execute within the trial version. So quite often you end up in a scenario where we deliver either POC or pilot, and then you get to the point where you actually purchase the licenses. So in this case, it's not a matter of licenses; it's a matter of focusing on what is the right thing for the organization. On the on the con side of the POC is that quite often it's not a strategic decision. You don't bring it up to the whole organization. You don't get this. You don't get the same flow from the organization, and quite often the case is that you lose the momentum afterwards because you need to put it up as a strategic thing you do within the organization. If you look at the pilots, you make a strategic decision to go forward solving automations using RPA, or artificial intelligence, as another tool within the organization to do automation. And when you do this, you quite often involve the organization in a different way, and you focus on achieving some values in the pilot. And when you tick those boxes, you move forward with the plan. And therefore, when you have this approach, you don't lose the momentum after you execute the pilot. Of course, the pilot takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit higher cost, but you get the immediate values that you're looking for in the organization, which is the main difference. If you look at the different models, approaches when you're talking about the RPA and artificial intelligence journey, it's important to state that it's a journey. It's an ongoing thing within the organization. And of course, to begin with, it's a matter of identifying the processes and build a short list, make sure you involve the right people within the organization to execute this. And then you have the approach of building it and deploying it, and afterwards scaling it to a different level. But you can say that within the journey, then there are different ways, different things you follow. The basic area is doing rule-based automation, which as of today is still largely what is happening within the clients. And the other part, which comes, you can say this part comes in parallel. It's not something you either do basic automation or you do cognitive automation, where it's more in terms of unstructured data, or the artificial intelligence and say intelligent automation, where you get to a different state. It really depends on the process you're working with. So usually those things are in parallel, where the majority of the automation is still basic rule-based. One of the, even as an example, one of the interesting things that we're talking to our clients are, I think most of you can relate to the finance department and the challenge you face when you are working with KPIs. So if you take a normal scenario in an organization where you're having a KPI moving from green to yellow, green to red, for many organizations, it's still a case where you have a controller executing a task, figuring out what happened or what to do to actually get this KPI to go back from red to green. and where we are with automation, RPA and AI, especially with automation anywhere, is you can actually have robots doing this work, analyzing this data, figuring out if the let's say you have a scenario where you're selling goods, and you have a KPI that is looking in the region of Europe, and you are down in the inventory for a specific article in Germany, and therefore the KPI goes from green to red. Then you can have the bots analyzing this data and actually suggesting to move some of the inventory, in some cases, let's say from UK to Germany, to ensure the KPIs are correct and green in the whole region. And you can do this in many ways. You can either have the bots doing the whole thing, the whole process, and actually updating all these systems. You can have control states. It's quite often what happens in the beginning, where you have often our clients want to see that things are working in the beginning, but when the flow has been working for several times or enough times, then usually the case is that you allow the bots to actually do the entire process without human interaction. So there's many ways of actually working with this, but the possibilities are huge. It's mostly a matter of how you like to work, and how you allow the technology to fit your needs within the organization. The last slide is a little bit about how you can how to combine offshoring with the RPA and artificial intelligence. You can say as your partner, quite often you outsource some of the tasks to us, either at our main office in Denmark or another country. But the main focus that we have towards our client is ensuring that you meet your business goals within time, within speed, improve quality and efficiency. And how you get there is less important, but there are different ways of achieving this. The main thing is you make a plan, and you are aware that the plan will change over time. So making plans for more than 12 months ahead usually doesn't make sense, because they're altered too many times. So you make a plan for 12 months, and you focus on what your organization is good at that within these 12 months, and then we make a plan to actually meet those business goals that we are set up to free. A good example of how we combine offshoring with RPA and artificial intelligence is that when you're talking about finding the right processes within the organization, sometimes you have scenarios where, not for technical reasons, but in terms of business decisions, that you want to automate the process, but to begin with, you might not actually want to automate 100% of the process. You might actually decide that we should only automate 95% of it because you want some human interaction within the flow. And sometimes you have organizations where the employees are less willing to actually to allow this, because they can find it a little bit challenging that they still have to check or verify that things are correct. If you, on the other hand, decide that when you document the process that you want to automate, you could also decide to say, fine, let's have someone else executing this entire process, and in parallel with that, we automate the process, and therefore you can have our staff actually taking care of these manual bits within the process that you decide for some time being. Usually it's a time-based decision, and then when we've been executing it a number of times, usually it goes to full automation. But the whole idea is that we have a person doing the actual task manually, and next to that person we have an RPA developer actually automating the same task, so that the person doing the manual part is quickly freed up to do other tasks within the organization. And this way you are removing the different or the potential boundaries that you have within the organization to actually automate processes, because you look beyond the technical parts of automation, and that can push forward the speed in terms of how fast we can actually meet your business goals. Matthew is going to quickly show you a little bit about how you can a little bit about the newest versions of Automation Anywhere, and I guess Matthew, you take over from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was excellent. So yeah, hi everyone, and good morning. My name is Matthew Falconer. I'm a sales engineer here at Automation Anywhere. And today I have the pleasure of showing you our latest intelligent digital workforce platform. It lets you create bots, leverage AI, and so much more. We'll dive into that today. So let me first begin with a bit of background into who we are as a company. So we are, simply put, the world's most advanced and widest deployed digital workforce platform. Our company consists of over 2,100 employees now, and we have a growing network of over 800 partners who work with us every single day. We now actually have more than 3,100 enterprise customers in over 90 different countries, which is absolutely insane. Together they've deployed close to 2 million bots now, which makes Automation Anywhere clearly the world's widest deployed digital workforce. So if we actually look into this in a bit more depth, among those 3,000 plus customers, we have some of the largest brands in the world. They all use our RPA on a day-to-day basis. They use our AI products and our analytics engine as well. So all of these customers are really deployed at scale and very successfully have an automation program in place. So I'd like to first talk about the problem we're trying to solve. So after 20 years of automation technology actually being available, the vast majority of business processes are actually performed manually. And we wanted to understand exactly why this is. Well, actually, if we look at it, the answer is quite simple. If we look at the enterprise landscape over time, the complexity of systems has increased rapidly. And because the technology needed to automate these systems can be fundamentally different, only 20% of what could be automated actually has been automated. So this leaves us with a gap of 80% of things that are yet to be automated. What we looked at is how enterprises solve this today. And generally what they'll do is they'll just apply a massive human labor workforce to the problem, essentially having people do all of these tasks that a computer could otherwise do, and that's not a good use of anyone's time. So we think that there's a better solution by leveraging a digital labor workforce. So our solution looks a bit like this. We combine the knowledge of the people that we feel know the process the best, We then use our digital workforce platform. And the way that our digital workforce platform works and the way that RPA functions is that it works on every system in the world, just like a human does. So we think with this, we can close that automation gap by applying the knowledge of the people who know the processes with our technology, applying that to every system in the world. Therefore, we get the 80% sort of challenge taken away. Let me quickly define what the digital workforce consists of and what that means. So for us, it comprises of three main components. We first have our enterprise RPA, which is the bread and butter in any automation journey. It works on systems like you and I would use the system. So through interactions with buttons and fields and things like that. It offers both attended and unattended automation. And this means that you could have bots that work with you during the day, so are present on your machine and can take over when they need to and speed up your work. Or you can have unattended automation, which means it sits in the background, so things can happen without you ever having any interaction with the bot. We also have our powerful AI technology, which encompasses IQbot and a range of other technology we have built into the platform. It gives you access to data that was previously inaccessible to automation, and you can extract data from unstructured and semi-structured sources with ease. So things like PDFs, image files, and emails. You can get them into a structured format with OCR and machine learning, and therefore use them in your RPA and in your automations. And the power of this is to really take data that was previously inaccessible and actually show it to bots and let them work with it. And then finally, we have our bot insight engine. Now, this will take all the data that we've seen from our systems in RPA, from our documents with IQbot, and actually what it will allow us to do is generate live, real-time, and actionable insights. This will get you a really clear understanding of what's going on, what your bot's doing, but not only that, what they're seeing. So previously, you can imagine all of these systems that didn't have access to an analytics front end or sort of dashboard, suddenly now have this capability. So automatically generate dashboards based on the data that they're seeing, and they're highly customizable. They give you live insight into your processes like never before. Think of all the legacy systems that you use today that have no reporting functionality and no visibility. Now imagine them with a brand new analytics user interface. That updates every single time that the system does, and it doesn't need any code or API. And that's what insight. So these three components really feed in to make our digital workforce. And to add to that, we actually have a few other great things. We have our bot store. Think App Store for bots. So these bots that are pre-generated by other people, they can be searched for by process, by role, by skill, or even the applications that they use. That gives you instant benefits from day one. So there's no barrier to entry. You can just download, modify to fit your needs, and everything just works. So that's what a digital workforce looks like. Let's now talk about why you might leverage one. So the ability to optimize labor costs. So of course, a primary objective for many businesses. But at the same time as not increasing your workforce, you can actually increase capacity with bots. Among this, once you do employ bots into the business, you can increase the speed, accuracy, and availability of your processes. So for example, bots work far faster on the same systems than a human can. In terms of accuracy, bots don't make human mistakes, so there's no trouble there. And in terms of availability, bots don't have holidays or days off. In fact, they need no breaks, so they can run 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. With all of this, you can actually improve your compliance, controls, and auditability. Everything a bot ever does is accessible and viewable from our online log. So wherever you are in the world, you can log into the control room, see what your bots are up to, and what they've done in the past. Nothing gets past the control room. So anything your bots are doing is reported straight back. With bot insights, we can finally deliver business intelligence unlike anything you've seen before, due to the fact that we can plug into systems that could be 20, 30 years old. We do this by essentially having the eyes of a human. We look into systems, grab the data we need, and we can feed that into an intelligent, real-time and live updating analytics platform. With RPA and of course AI, you can enable digital transformation. In fact, it's not only the first step in any digital transformation journey that we find in enterprises we work with, but actually the only step they ever need. We do have this all-encompassing platform that works with everything. And then finally, you can increase employee morale. When they don't have to focus on these boring and mundane processes, they can actually do what really matters to them and do the stuff that humans are actually good at. So that's a few reasons why you might want to leverage digital workforce. Of course, there's so many more, but I think more important than that is what our customers are saying. There's no point in me telling you this is great. What do our customers think? So we have, of course, some of the largest customers around the world, and some of the things they say is that they have quick wins with our product, that they love the simple plug-and-play platform that we offer. They save thousands of hours just in the first year, for example, with Symantec. And actually, our speed of adoption is really unlike anything we've seen with any other platforms of its type. So our challenge recently, or at least in the past few years, was being able to deliver an automation platform that worked for all users, not just the advanced power users. And to do that, we had to focus on a few things. So first of all, we had to understand what different users need to use the platform on a day-to-day basis. Well, the first, of course, for us is the citizens developer. So the person who actually performs the processes every day. This is someone who isn't natively a developer, but we want to make sure that they can actually automate as well. So to focus on the citizens developer, we had to make a platform that was easy to use, allowing them to automate more whilst focusing on the task at hand. Now, of course, we know that specialist developers are needed in order to go the whole way through. So we had to build a rich tool set, which lets them build really powerful bots, focusing on the process end to end and collaborating with the business user. And then finally, someone who's managing the entire project needs the ability to scale really easily whilst ensuring great security, governance, and compliance. And all of this whilst having a lower total cost of ownership. So these things are obviously quite a challenge. And we think that with our newest platform, A2019, which I'm going to show you in a moment, we've actually managed to counter all of them, which is great. Okay, so I believe now, of course, as I said, we want power and ease for all of these users. But now it's no good, again, me just telling you. I'm going to show you and walk you through why this platform, why our latest digital workforce platform is the most powerful one available from us and available from anyone we've got. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and we'll dive straight into the platform. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'll just switch back. It seems like you can. It's fantastic. Okay, so here is the platform. This is the A2019 platform that I've been speaking about. And the first thing you should notice is it's entirely web-based. So here I'm on a web browser and the entire platform is available to me from this one page. So I can log in as a user, either someone who can create bots, maybe I'm someone who can manage bots, or maybe I'm the administrator of the entire RPA platform. And we'll see different views based on this. Right now, I'm logged in as a bot creator, and that's for good reason, because we're going to create a bot live. Before we do that, I just want to give you a brief tour of the platform. So for example, if I wanted to dive in, I could see any bots that were running. I could see any bots that had run in the past. And I can also view this in my bots tab. So if I go into my bots, I can see all of the task bots that I've been creating. If I wanted to create a new one, actually, it's really simple too. So I can just go over here and press the Create Task Bot button. Here we can give our bot a name. So I'm just going to call mine Demo. And we can press Create and Edit. So I want to draw your attention to just how simple this platform is. The UI is simple throughout. It's a complete no-code environment. So business users can build end-to-end themselves. Everything is drag and drop. So to demonstrate that, I think we should just dive in and build a bot. So what I'm going to show you now, if I open up my Internet Explorer here, is we're going to go to this page here. It's quite a common stocks website. And we're going to show you how just easy it is to create a bot that can launch this page. It can navigate through, it can grab data off of the page, and then maybe we might want to do something after that. So for example, there, I just went to my search menu and I just typed in Internet Explorer and launched it. To do it in RPA and our new platform, again, it's really simple. So I can just go over here and I can search for an action. For example, if I wanted to launch a website, I might just search in website, and here we can find the launch website command. It's drag and drop, so I don't have to worry about coding. There's none of that in this platform. Here we get a very simple menu, which lets us just define exactly what we want to do. For example, here, the URL. And I can just go here and I can copy and paste a URL. There you go. We also have a drop down here, and you'll find this across many of the commands. Everything is just a very simple drop down command. And what I can do is just select that I want to open up in Internet Explorer, for example. Great. So another great thing we have with this platform, which is new to this and new to the industry, is a unified recorder. This recorder will let you, as a business user or as a specialist developer, just show the platform what the process does. So to do that, as you can see, I've already got this page open. I can just press this record button and it will connect up immediately to my computer and allow me to point to any of the windows I have open at the time. So for example, here we get this window that says record application. I can just find our trading economics website. I press start recording and it comes to the forefront. Now with this, what I can do is just click through the process. And you might have seen there, every time I hover over, it just gives me a good indication that it's captured that. So I click through on the menu. Now I might want to scroll down. Okay, here's a great one, the AEX, which I might want to extract. Again, hovering over that. And I can just walk through the process at my own speed, just showing Automation Anywhere where to go. We can scroll down the page and see something that's actually off of the page initially. And I can just hover over this table and you can see that Automation Anywhere gives me this red box to show it's capturing it. Great. So I've just done about 4 steps and now I can press stop. What you see is Automation Anywhere on the left-hand side here actually populates all of the actions. And I don't have to worry about adding anything myself. So if I go over here, go back to the platform, you can actually read through what the bot is doing. So the first thing you should notice is that this is entirely visual. So we can read it, we can see it, and we can zoom in, zoom out if we want to as well. The first thing we do is launch the website. The next thing we do is click on a button. Now, if you look, it's actually shown us this preview of what we've clicked in this red box. So even if you didn't build this process yourself, it's really easy to understand. You can see here, we've clicked on everything, got the AEX, and finally we left clicked on that table. Now, Automation Anywhere and the unified recorder that works across loads of different application types, no matter what it is, has recognized that this is a website and that that is a table. So in the actions dropdown, I can actually select instead, not just to left click, but because it has recognized this as a table, I can actually extract the data from that table with this get table action. And then I can assign it the output to a variable, which I just create with this magic wand, and I'll just call this table, pressing OK. Great, so now we're going to get that table and assign it out to table. Now, what if we wanted to, say, write this now to an Excel file? Again, I can use this really simple search functionality to just search for exactly what I need. In this case, I'm going to search for table because I know that I've already got one. And here we can look down the list and find something. So we could join two tables, we could delete rows if we needed to. Here's one I'm interested in, write file. And I can just drop that in. I can use the drop down to select my table. I can just browse and select a file on my computer. Here I have a file that I want to save it into, just a data CSV. Press open. If it wasn't there, we could tick to create it. And we can actually, well, I'll show you I'm not cheating. I'll press overwrite so you know. And I can press apply there. Great, so the next thing I want to do, now I have this in a file, is I actually want to open up a CSV of all of your emails. And I'd love to receive this in the morning when I wake up so I can do my trading for the day. Say, for example, I'm a bank and I have a lot of traders. I want to send them the stock tables of the day. Now we can do that really simply. I have created a text file containing all of your email addresses, and I want to get those into the platform. To do that, I can just open up that text file. Again, if it's on the control room, I can search for it, or I can just go to desktop and select it here. Here's my emails text file. I can say whether it contains a header. I can obviously configure it to work for me. Press apply. I can read in all the data and assign it out to a variable, which I'll just call emails here. Press OK. And I can press apply. And then finally, if I wanted to send an email, just searching for this drag and drop command for an email send. And there you go, I found it. Just drop that in. So I'm actually going to send this to myself here. Just putting in my email address. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put you all on BCC. So I just grab the emails and I can just configure it like that. Finally, I want to obviously add an attachment. I might even change this subject, or I'll leave it for now. I'll press browse, and there you go. There's our data that we sent. And I might want to write a message. Thanks for watching our webinar. This bot was created live. Great. So if we wanted, we could configure the email to send via email server, but I think for me, I'm running this on my computer in an independent mode. So I'll just switch and say, run it on Outlook. Great, so that looks perfect to me. And I can just see this bot at a glance. I can press save if I want. We actually have two views. One that you're seeing now is the flow view. It works great for business users. Another one that we have is called the list view. And actually, this is a much more similar to code experience, I think, for a lot of developers. So they can read through and understand what the bot's doing. Let's do that ourselves. In fact, I'll open them both side by side so you can choose which one works for you. We first launch a website. You can read it here. We will then click on a button, the markets button. We click on a button, the one that says stocks, and we can see that there. AEX. We get the table from that window. We write it out to a file. We actually overwrite it if it already exists. We open up our emails. We read the data in and put it into a variable. And finally, I'm going to send an email to myself with everyone on BCC, and we're going to attach that document for that file for us. So I'm going to close down Internet Explorer now, and we'll run it. And if I switch back to this mode and I just press run, it's really simple. Now what it will do is it will connect up automatically to my computer. It will actually do all the pre-processing itself. And in a moment, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, we see what we call the runtime window, which will open up the page, go through the page at lightning fast speed. It seems like the website's actually had an error there. That's an issue with the server of the website. Let's see if we can reload this. But again, these things happen. Yeah, now it loads properly. So let me just quickly stop this bot and we'll run it again. It's always the demo website that goes down when you at least want it to. So I'll just close that bot and we can press run again. So hopefully this time the website will behave. There you go. So the bot's running again, opens up the page. There you go. We've gone to the page. We jump down to that AEX stock market. We jump to the table. It's writing to a file. You see that in the bottom right-hand corner. And it's been successful. So any moment now, what you should get is an email containing that, because we've had our successful bot run. Now, obviously, with that website going down, we could actually look into that and see what happens. So say, for example, I wanted to see what's run in the past. We can see here, we go into the historical. I can see that one failed and one completed. And if I wanted to dive in and see exactly why it failed, we can see there was a problem on line 4. So it couldn't find the button because the website failed at the time. So that's fantastic. We can see exactly why it failed, and it makes a platform that's really, really advanced and able to sort of change when it needs to. Now, of course, if this website went down all the time, which it may do, we could go in and we could build in error handling, for example, here. Maybe it would retry the web page if it failed. In fact, what you'll find is with this platform, you can really do anything. So taking in something like speech to text is as easy as one line. Our AI capabilities and OCR is available here in IQ-bot commands and in OCR. For example, if we wanted to do really legacy things, we can emulate, use terminal emulators, or we can use more advanced applications like SAP here. We have so many commands, and really what I'd recommend is you go on to the community edition on our website at automationanywhere.com and you give it a spin for yourself. Now, just one more thing before I end that I want to show you is actually something we call Bot Insights. I'm going to have to log in here again, I'm sure, or maybe not. And what I can show you is that all of the data that we work with can be viewed in real time. So for example, here's a dashboard that I created, essentially that was based on a POC I did a few months ago. So we were working with a bank, they were issuing loans all the time, and they wanted to see exactly what loans and what mortgages they were issuing. So here, this data is in real time. This is all of the mortgages they've issued from the 6th of November and up until the time period of the 6th of next month. And essentially what we can do here is all of this data is live. For example, we have the risk percentage. This is currently the total. If I want to switch it into the average, I can do that here. Risk percentage, change it by average, press finish, and it recreates for itself. Now, of course, one last thing, we have a range of different sort of analytics pages here. We have all of these maps, and we can see exactly what states all of these mortgages are coming from. We can see how they vary by email, but if I want to instead change that, I could do it by, okay, what's the mortgage type? And we can see what mortgages we're sort of issuing the most. And there's so much more I can't show you today. Essentially, this is a brief preview into RPA and also Bot Insight. I hope you've really enjoyed the platform. And as I said, please feel free to sign up on the community edition and give it a try for yourself. Thanks, Marge. Back to you.
Thank you. So thank you, Michael and Matthew, for your knowledge and your real-time experience of RPA. So now back to the audience. If you have any questions, then please put them in the question box. And don't be afraid to ask something, because we can definitely either answer it today or get back to you later on. But in the meantime, I have some questions for you in the poll that I would like to ask. So if correct, you see something in your screen, and the question is, would you like to have a private discussion or a demo at your location, so at your company location after this event? So please let us know if you would like to have that and talk to Michael and Matthew in person, so they can show you even more. I have no votes yet.